it's interesting how I started meeting these cowboys, these rodeo cowboys, where I lived in Southern California, and I fell in love with the seductive nature of rodeo. And of course, I pissed my dad off.
Of course.
And that was a very uncomfortable household for a little while in that transition. It was almost like you want to talk about the ultimate punch in the stomach, never going away for you. I felt that every day coming home from school because I knew I wanted to go do this.
Yeah.
And my dad wanted me to be a baseball player, and I'm starting to throw away a potential future.
Yeah.
So we had arguments, we had fights, and my dad was really angry with me but I still did it anyway. And at 16 years old, I got on the back of my first bull and I fell in love with it. And it was like a whole new world opened up to
California.
me. Southern California, Lake Elsinore.
I was gonna say, is there there's got to be a little community of ranchers and stuff, because
all over.
There's people when you say SoCal, people automatically think the beaches and LA and Hollywood and all these other things, but there's a lot of rural areas all up and down Southern California, and some of the most beautiful
absolutely. I mean, you got to consider Corona, Norco, Lake Elsinore, all up inside the Inland Empire. They're Northern California. People are shocked. You're right. They're shocked. They think Southern California has got to be surfer. That's all it is. It's like the ditzy Valon and the surfer dude. And the reality is there's a lot of rodeo cowboys, ranchers, and people that are a little bit different out there. And I found them. So Lake Elsinore was where I rode for the first time. Okay. And it's interesting is at the time in the 90s, the professional rodeo circuit, majority of the guys that were on the circuit were from Southern California.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was interesting. But interesting. I was around a couple pro cowboys. They started to mentor me. They asked me after my first ride, do you want to do that again? And it's either a yes or a no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's not a lot of,
no. Yeah. Let me ponder this, and I'm going to posit that maybe perhaps I might go, no, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. And what's interesting is my very first ride, I fell off about 2.5 seconds, and the bull slip fell on me, and Charlie horsed my leg. And when he turned to get up off the ground, we locked eyes for a split second. And that frightened me, but it also turned me on. It's weird as it sounds. And when it turned me on, I felt a shock move through my body. And as I'm crawling away on my hands and knees to get the heck out of the arena, even though, I mean, it's not like he was the most ranked bull coming after me. Right. I didn't know. When I got up, that's when he came up. So you want to do that again? And I was like, hell yes, I do. I don't know. It just came out of me. So I started riding every weekend, and I did that for the next 5 years.
Every weekend.
Even when I joined the military in my junior year in high school, I was still riding bulls. And then when I got back and I finished my senior year and I went active duty, I was still on the weekends when I wasn't training or deployed somewhere. I was out finding a place where I can go ride. And it was a draw that.
Was that like the only piece of the rodeo that you ever like engaged in?
Yeah, I was a bull rider. That was it. I mean, that's enough, I think, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But that world really, I'll bring you back to performance aspect of just understanding my capacity was, for me, I really discovered a whole new side of what it means to be connected to yourself in the moment.
Yeah.
Bull riding, the world, people see it on the screen. It looks crazy and fascinating, but when you're in it and you get on the back of that animal and you're tying your rope and you feel that life underneath you, you know that 1,500 pound, 2,000 pound animal is going to buck and he's going to try to throw you off at all costs. You can get hurt. It's almost like it forces you to truly be present. It forces you to feel things you don't usually feel when we're distracted by the noise of life.
Yeah.
And every time I got on the back, it was an opportunity for me to practice that presence and really focus on my breath, my heartbeat, my emotions, my intuition, even though I didn't even know what intuition was at the time, but learning how to really connect. And it's amazing is every time I did that through a practice, I always did really well. And the times that I was rushing, the times that I was a little off and to let the nerves get to me, I got banged up. So I started to see the difference between those two worlds and go, you know what? Okay, let me focus really on the discomfort of presence, the discomfort of being pushed, challenged, stretched, holding myself in this moment and letting that energy, that piece of me be what helps propel my performance when I call the gate or when I go swing the bat or when I go, jump in the ocean, whatever it might be. And I found that really helped me grow as a man and really introduced me to a whole new world of how to handle chaos in a different way.
What is the actual risk for bull riders? Like, I know that there's a lot of rhetoric around it, but if you're talking about like, what percentage of people are going to not be able to do it because of a really terrible injury versus, actual like real risk of injury, death, like terrible injuries, those types of things?
I don't want to speak out of turn and speak just
quote a statistic that you don't know, but
there's always an inherent risk
Yeah.
in any kind of extreme sport like that.
Sure.
People do get hurt all the time. I think the more you are engaged in that sport, the more likely you're going to get injured through the process. 5 years of doing it, I got hurt.
Yeah.
Banged up, bloody, fat lips, black eyes. I mean, Charlie horses all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, hitting the ground really hard when you miss your dismount. There's a lot of times you learn how to ride an animal, and you learn how to time when you cover the bull or ride for 8 seconds. You're supposed to unwind your own rope, and you're supposed to look for the cowboys are there to pick up men, is what they call them. Those guys riding the horses come get you. Look, the clowns are going to do their job to distract the bull, and then you have to learn how to feel the bull and try to time the bull to get off of it, so that you can land on your feet. Doesn't always work that way. It does take practice. A lot of those pros are really good because they do all that. They live, breathe, and eat that stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't live, eat, and breathe it as much as they do, even though I was doing it every weekend. I think what it was is like every time I got hurt, it gave me an opportunity to learn how to do it better the next time. It was almost like I can appreciate that pain.
Yeah. That
pain really, really helped me build muscle.
Feedback.
It's instant biofeedback. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember I hit the ground really hard one time, and it's not knocking the wind out of you. You've actually knocks more wind into you, believe it or not. That's why we suck. Try and actually exhale. A lot of times when you have that experience, they tell you to actually exhale because your body's already sucked it in so much wind. So when I hit the ground and that happened to me, I'm crawling on my arms like low crawl, like military to get out of there, and I can't breathe. And it felt like my ribs were broken. Yeah. And I mean, I hit the ground really hard. My buddies heard the thud, and it was really loud. And I thought, I'm done. I'm going to the hospital. I punctured something. I broke something. Yeah. Didn't do anything. Just really bruised up the whole side of me. But it was because I rushed. And I think a lot of cowboys will say this, like, look, it's all about practice. It's all about repetition. It's all about focus.
Yeah.
And then I fractured my L4, and that was the last ride I ever did when I was 21. I was in the Army still, and we were training. It was just like 7 months before Afghanistan, before September 11th happened. And I was lucky that I was rehabbed and able to go. But yeah, that was the lesson for me was like, okay, I've hit my limits.
Yeah.
I think
like I'm not pursuing this professionally.
Good. This was not going to be my profession. And I wanted to be a soldier. I had aspirations to be in the special operations community. I was like, if I'm going to be good, I'm going to be good enough to get into the community. I have to be ready, and I can't be doing stupid stuff like this. So I think that was the lesson that woke me up. I got the experience. I learned how to be a man in that realm, and then it propelled me into the military.
Sure.
And that is where I took it from there.